All right, real quick, everybody. Thanks everyone for joining today. Just want to welcome everyone to today's workshop. We have been mildly introduced to Dr. Bush. I'm going to give a real quick introduction of him, and then I'm going to turn in his hands. So, Dr. James A. Bush is a seasoned professional with over 18 years of experience in the healthcare sector. He boasts an impressive portfolio of accomplishments. Currently, he serves as a solution strategist, manager, and professor of business and healthcare administration. He is renowned for his insightful contributions to the field. He has years of experience in curriculum design and course development. And today, he's going to be sharing with us some of that knowledge about course design in his presentation entitled Effective College Course Design. So, Dr. Bush, it's in your hands.
All right, awesome sauce. So my goal today was try to make this as painless as possible. I didn't want to make it painful for you. I know, of course, sometimes when we are doing remote engagement, it could be, a little bit cumbersome. So I did want to take the time to kind of, get a feel for who was in the room and where you are in your prospective spaces. The reason I guess, designed this particular session was because I, like many of you, I guess I'll do a little background. I am an assistant professor and a programmatic accreditation director full-time at Life University. I am a solution strategist in the corporate sector, where I specialize in hospital revenue cycle and business solutions for hospitals and providers across the entire United States. So I travel quite often. My actual background initially was, of course, in corporate training and in education and optimization for companies, for Fortune 500 companies, specifically, again, hospitals in that space. Let me go ahead and keep, got some more people coming in. Along that time, or along that road, if you will, I had the pleasure of designing lots of corporate training. And then as I stepped my foot into the world of academia, you start getting thrusted kind of into course training. So I do have a number of experience now of developing not only college courses, minors, majors, and full-on degree programs for colleges and universities. So of course, I figured, hey, if I was one of those individuals that you just finished graduating, or you're newly minted doctor and you're now hired on as a subject matter expert or a SME for some of these smaller private universities, or you are maybe at a larger one, obviously, the more than likely they're going to look to kind of upgrade their curriculum, upgrade what they're doing as a university, or they may even change the direction. So it's a good idea to really know what you're doing when developing, of course, a college level course, if you will. So I just wanted to kind of work with you and kind of get an idea where you are and give you some ideas and some pointers that help me out to do these particular tasks. I think also the best part about this is as you are working, and if hold on one second, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to stop sharing just for a moment here because I want to see faces. As you are working in your prospective areas and your spaces, don't just limit yourself, I should say, to academia. I've been able to leverage my degree and use it in other avenues. So those schools that I kind of pointed out there, while I work at one, I design courses for multiple schools, right? While I work at one corporation, I've still got contracts for my knowledge, for my knowledge base. You spent 4, 5, 6 years, 7 years for some of y'all, because some of us were on a longer track, I see Dr. Wilson. So you can sometimes take that knowledge and parts of your dissertation or whatever your research is and craft that into a really phenomenal course for one of the colleges in your prospective areas. Now, I mentioned smaller universities or small private universities. More than likely, they're the ones that can really use your subject matter expertise. these larger organizations, and I'm going to talk specifically for the for-profit ones, like the ones that you see the commercials. The ones that have commercials typically already have instructional designers in place. They already have a curriculum. When we're hired on as adjuncts, we're really just coming in to point and click. Point, click, facilitate a conversation. But those brick and mortar smaller ones in your neighborhoods, the technical colleges, your state colleges, those small private institutions, they don't have the bandwidth to hire on a full team of instructional designers and hire you at the same time. The extra other point I want to bring forth while we're doing this is you studied 4 or 5 years again for whatever your reason is. 9 times out of 10, it is not adult education, unless you have an ED, and I think, of course, yours is for adult education. But mine isn't for adult education. So I have a business and healthcare background. How am I supposed to know about pedagogy and all this other good stuff? You just hired me on, and the salary really sucks as an adjunct. So what you want me to do about this? So this is why I want to really help you and make your job a little bit easier in this process. So let me go ahead and share again. So let me walk you through this journey here. So there's about 3 major things or 3 pointers that I really want, I hope to bring forward to you to help you out in this process. I want to tackle SLOs and PLOs in the alignment with the institutional goals. I want to talk about Bloom's taxonomy and how we can use that to effectively develop courses. And there's a wonderful institution out there called Quality Matters, and I want to make sure that you are in line with what they're doing in order to better, not only better present a proposal, but a proposal that will help you pass whatever your curriculum committee is at your institution. Okay, so let me push forward there. Okay, so why course design? By a show of hands or in the chat, has anyone designed a course already at their current university or institution? Anyone with a background or experience in it already?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, I'm an
See the
instructional
vets out there.
designer.
Awesome.
Yes, just discussed it this morning, right before this call.
Oh, Lord Jesus, how was it?
Bad.
Why was it bad?
Because the person who I was talking to has no experience in academia or curriculum, teaching or curriculum design.
I understand that. So for those individuals who have kind of already been down this road, this, of course, obviously will be a refresher. Please feel free, because I like engagement. Please feel free to chime in if this is your situation or your case. Dr. Tyson, Dr. Williams, Dr. Wilson, please, of course, by all means, jump on in if you have an amen for me from the background. Please, by all means, because we need, this is a collective thing. Why design? Why course design? Again, I really think that as we move forward, we have multiple generations pushing through, of course, our environments. If anyone right now is in the academic setting, right now we are challenged with AI and ChatGPT. I can't tell you how many times now I have had to go back and work with learners now about their overuse, I should say, of like ChatGPT in the discussion board platform or responses to different assignments. It's a pain. So during this particular process, I've been working with our instructional designers and, of course, the other faculty to redevelop or rethink how we do simple things like discussion boards or activities within the class that are, in a sense, ChatGPT proof. But we're going to always have to evolve because obviously technology is evolving. Our industries, whatever they are also evolving. So I kind of brought this together and I wanted to point out a couple of things as we move through this. There are some critical steps for your course design. Depending on your institution, these might be in different orders or they may have different requirements. However, the 3 or 4 that I've worked with here in the most recent past here all required some similar elements, and across the board, you may require some similar elements. In the chat, I also dropped in Dropbox link. So if there's a document associated with this, you can utilize that document for notes for this actual session here. So a needs assessment and a proposal. With all of these, and I'll drop it back in if you, I need to share it. Okay, you already got it. There we go. So a needs assessment and a proposal. There kind of a lot that kind of goes into that needs assessment. I'll talk about that, what encompasses that, and how to, effectively write a proposal. Most of us already know how to write a proposal, but there's some elements that need to be in that proposal when you are presenting it to said institution or said organization. Obviously, of course, curriculum design, that of course can be a sore spot, especially if, of course, if you're talking to somebody who does not know a thing about actually designing curriculum. Alignment with institutional standards. This part sometimes becomes hard because if you are attached to your research and you're very, very passionate about the work that you did, as you should be, sometimes that does not align with the actual university as a whole. But I do think as we are looking at the elements of your dissertation or whatever work that you've published already, there might be little points where you can weave in that into some sort of course. Anyway, resources and allocations. Sometimes the resources aren't there, so we'll talk about that. Faculty selection and training for said course materials developments, review and approval. This is actually a big deal at many institutions. It might be very cumbersome and it might be very political. So we'll have a quick conversation around that too. And then I didn't do heavy slides on these last two, but these are really important too. Implementation and your feedback loop. Whatever you actually create and design, you definitely want to make sure that you have a feedback loop associated with it. Therefore, how can you actually, make change and improve upon what's already there? So this is kind of the structure of how we're going to talk about today's session here in our workshop. All right. So I really want to start with where do we start? And so initially, of course, I talked about that needs assessment. Ideally, when you are getting ready to approach, I'll say Dean Taylor, you have a wonderful, actually, correction, it's Provost Taylor today. So I want to approach Provost Taylor about a really phenomenal topic or subject for this upcoming program. Now, it could be an actual degree program. I wrote a master's degree in positive leadership for my university, along with 15 additional doggone courses associated with that at the graduate level and outcomes for that. Part of that process for me to develop that entire thing was, of course, approaching my leadership at my university and doing a number of different things, going out and getting actual data. Take a look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the U.S. Department of Education. That's where you're going to get your numbers from. Hey, this is what we forecast in the economy and in the market space. This is what we're going to need. And the U.S. Department of Education can back you up with student retention and completion rates for programs that are out there and alike. These numbers are really good, especially if you have a numbers person who's a decision maker. They're really going to want to know that. Additionally, I don't know if anyone's at a private institution. Typically, private institutions also have board of trustees or board of directors. They care about those numbers a lot. And they want to see a return on their investment. So get a good deep dive in those. Those are free sources in order to get that information. You want to also do your market research for your program. Again, you might be very passionate about this, but is everyone else passionate about it, right? Take a look at your competition. Competition also matters in this space. Your university is a business. And whether it's non-for-profit or for-profit, they're all for-profit. So as you are thinking about this course that you are designing, who else is in this actual space that you are about to walk into? And what are they doing in this as far as that category goes? How can you then set yourself apart from the competition? As I was designing some of these courses, I took a look at the other universities in the surrounding area, and I did, apples to apples. What's going to make this particular degree program a little special or better than, of course, what's out there? As I was thinking about my own university, we have we have a mission of vitalism and kind of positive thinking and leadership in the education arena. That is different than other universities, and I wanted to make sure that I applied that to the entire course design as I kind of went through there. So you want to kind of look at that. Please take a look at your competition. The other reason why I want you to look at your competition is sometimes you can cheat this process because if they have already invented the wheel, reach out. If I know Dr. Wilson has already done it at her university, right? What, Dr. Wilson, where you at? Where you located? What school? I'm sorry.
So I wrote our SPED program at Southern University.
If I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia, and I know Dr. Wilson is one of my colleagues, she runs the same department that I do, I am not afraid to reach out to my colleague. This is where BDN comes in handy. You have a bunch of colleagues down this vertical. Hey, Dr. Wilson, I am doing a course on this, or I'm writing a new degree program for my institution. I see that you did this. Do you mind? And typically, Dr. Wilson is going to say yes. Child, go ahead and take it. We ain't using it here, because that. Don't just go to their website and steal it. I'm not recommending that, but at least go there, because she can then send you some additional resources and save you tons of time during this actual process. So let's not reinvent the wheel. If it's out there, especially if it's another state, you might be the first state to do it. It's a good idea to reach out to whomever created that actual program there. So if anybody looking for SPED, Dr. Wilson, she got it. All right. Let's see. Industry trends is another thing. When I was designing mine, obviously AI is big now. Artificial intelligence, the student population, they're completely different. It's different than when you and I went to, of course, school and we're an undergrad. In my experience, obviously, may have been different than someone else's on this call. Take a look at what's happening with trends and try to apply those trends to your degree program. Change your marketing program, the generic name from marketing, to maybe digital marketing. Digital marketing, of course, is a big thing right now. It's a long-lasting. Yes, Dr. Williams?
Yes, I just wanted to say that my background is in artificial intelligence, and I designed an entire course using artificial intelligence, an entire course, everything from objectives to everything. It didn't do it perfectly, but it saved me 3 months of time, and I did it in about 2 weeks. So it can be done with the right AI tools. But again, you need to kind of have a good understanding of the AI part and the prompt engineers to tell it what you want it to do. So you come up with your outline and stuff, and you feed it in, and you have it to modify it. But for those of you who haven't tried it, it's a blessing.
Amen. And I'm going to talk about that in the tricks part too, because it's going
Okay.
to help out. Yes, ma'am.
She said, can you share with us which AI tool you use? Any of the large language models can be used to get you started, and then the rest of it will be your expertise for your particular domain area. And Dr. Wilson, I can talk to you about it offline.
I love
3
it.
weeks,
I love it.
3 months down to about 2 weeks.
And that's usually, and thank you for putting out that time frame. Typically, you don't have much of a turnaround time when it comes to some of these steps. So leveraging the technology, especially if you're on a crunch, is going to really, really help out. Similar, I use or leverage some of the language tools that are out there to help produce some of the work. And then the rest, of course, is you doing your subject matter expertise, coming in there and crafting a better response if you need to, because sometimes those responses are crazy. The next part about that, or I think that I had in that alignment, is understanding, of course, your curriculum development in alignment with your actual university, and understanding what SLOs and PLOs are. PLOs are program learning outcomes, and SLOs, or you might see them either as CLOs, course or class learning outcomes. So you have SLOs and you have PLOs. You want to make sure, as you are kind of designing the actual program, how does this program, if you're doing a program, like, of course, Dr. Williams, if you're doing a program, she had to then turn around and figure out, well, how does this align with the university's overall mission? I would also beg you to take a look at your university's strategic plan, because 9 times out of 10, they already have a 10 or longer year plan, strategic plan about where they see their institution going. That plan, of course, is a living, breathing document. Take a look at that strategic plan. For us, we call it LAMP. It lights the way, right? So we have a LAMP a plan. I went into that LAMP, saw where we were going, and I then crafted a program, right, or a degree program that was in line with where the school was going. That way, you're probably going to, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a higher acceptance of said proposal if it's in alignment with the actual university. Additionally, what you then want to do is, after you crafted the program, is it aligned with your actual college? Because your college obviously has a mission also that's in line with the university. The program learning outcomes, those program learning outcomes should speak to everything that you saw in the industry. There, Professor Williams looked out and saw, hey, AI is big. We need to get on this, and craft an entire program based off of that. Her program, I'm pretty sure, not speaking for you there, but I'm sure her program learning outcomes spoke to where she saw the industry going and what she then intended for the program, or the learning outcomes for participants in said program to come out with. And then from there, from those program learning outcomes, you then need to craft out multiple courses that all speak to the program learning outcomes, that have individual, multiple sometimes, student learning outcomes from every single course. Now, the SLOs can be kind of tricky, because as you are crafting those student learning outcomes, you really want to make sure that you are adding some additional layers in there, and you're not making, I guess, doing a fire hose, trying to let them drink from a fire hose. Could this be 2 separate classes? I have 16 SLOs, because I've seen some really crazy syllabi out here, 16 or 20 SLOs. Can I really do this in one semester? Should this be broken up? So think about that. So I have 2 different examples here, or 2 different statements. And in the chat, if you would help me out to identify if this is a SLO or is this a PLO. So statement 1 is, by the end of the semester, students will, hold on, let me move this out of the way. Students will be able to identify and explain the major causes and effects of climate change. And then my second statement is, graduates of the environmental science program will demonstrate a comprehensive understanding of global environment issues, including causes and consequences of climate change. Which one is an SLO and which one is a PLO? All right. Number 1 is an SLO. That is correct. Correct. Now, obviously, of course, these are dead giveaways. But as you are kind of reviewing your own syllabi, as you are going back through, you really want to make sure that you're kind of reviewing some of these. Should some of these SLOs in some of these courses, right, be PLOs? Should this be a program learning outcome, or should this be a student learning outcome, or a course learning outcome, versus it being something grander? Think about, of course, an umbrella and what's kind of falling underneath that umbrella, if you will. For my my fellow SMEs in the room, any insight on how you craft an SLO versus a PLO, or what you look for when you are looking at SLOs and PLOs? And feel free to come off mute if you like. Okay.
This is Megan. The
Hey, Megan.
SLOs, for me, is the statement or hope for what the students will move away with versus the program. And so there are different parts of this program, but for the students, the SLO, it's, what will my students gain and be able to sort of demonstrate by the time they're finished the course. Over.
Agreed. When so, and just to give you some insight, because I do accreditation for my program, and my hope is that as you are kind of crafting that course, you are looking at whatever your programmatic accreditation is. for your particular programs that you're overseeing, or the program that you're writing this for, if it has a program or if it has an industry standard, that's also a good place to get ideas for what will be the SLOs and or program learning outcomes. If the end goal is to attain a career certification, then I probably would go out and take a look at that particular industry's leader in credentialing. They probably already have objectives that certification to obtain that certification. You can weave that into the program learning outcomes and then create courses that align with those SLO, with those PLOs, if that makes sense.
Hi, yes. This is India. I am in
Hi,
social
India.
work. Hi. We have core competencies for the students that have to be somewhere embedded within that course. So it doesn't have to be all 8 or 9 of them, but we do have to teach so that they learn those core competencies. And so that would be those student learning outcomes.
And that's perfect. So like even like those core competencies, competencies, then and now question there, Professor India, are those are in alignment with whatever your industry, I'm not a social worker, but I assume that there's a licensure or accrediting body over the not necessarily the program, but what your graduates seek to attain, correct?
Yes, yes.
And that's probably where we've drawn those core competencies out from, right?
Yes. And so also the different schools have, they can't really deviate too much away from the overall social work accreditation process, but they may have their own program learning outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
But they run parallel to the CSWE competencies as well, the social work board's core competencies. They run kind of parallel to them.
Awesome. As you are continuing your process, or as you're kind of crafting, your notes and kind of getting yourself together, again, specifically for those individuals who have never had the opportunity to kind of create a course full out, or you're thinking about it, I recommend the ADDIE model. ADDIE stands for Analyze, Design, Develop, Implement, and Evaluate. If you are familiar with corporate training, typically course development or instructional designers in the corporate sector utilize ADDIE. Tons of schools and universities utilize ADDIE, that particular model, when it comes to the design approach. A lot of your legwork will be in the analysis part, and that's what's speaking to things like going out there and getting that industry, analysis, learning, or understanding who the learners are in your particular space, what they desire, what they're looking at. 1 second, my apologies. There we go. Move forward. And the ideal learning environment. The way that we are doing things obviously is transitioning. So you are probably going to do a deep dive on what the gaps are for your learners when you are thinking about what I can do to create a better course or a better program, and what your desired learning environment would be. For me, I design a lot of online learning, online learning. That will be different, obviously, if I'm designing this course for learners who are coming physically to the campus, or if it's a hybrid model, right? And even in, of course, me designing online learning, is it asynchronous or is it synchronous, right? Are there elements in there? But all of that has to kind of be built out and thought about when you're doing your analysis of where I'm going with that. Then, of course, we move kind of into that design phase. This is the module level. That's when we're getting in the weeds and everything. But take this as a little nugget there of how you can, of course, move forward with that actual model, and it'll assist you in this particular process. Sometimes we have to go back, because anytime we get back to the evaluation and we've kind of put that end of course survey in there, they may have pointed out something that we just needed to do. Or a lot of times, some of the courses that we have now run for multiple semesters, or if your school is on a quarter system, they just need to be redone, right? That's where those evaluations come into play. You need to take a look at those. Those evaluations are important, and they also are very important for your course's accreditation process if you have a programmatic accreditation for it. Anyone using the ADDIE model out there? Okay. And this diagram is also inside of your my handout that I kind of offered out to you too. All righty. So you've done your analysis, you've done your proposal, it's in line with whatever with what your university, and you're probably preparing your documents to get ready to go towards your curriculum committee if you have a curriculum committee or whatever process that you have. It's going to be important to align those SLOs with Bloom's taxonomy. Now, Bloom's taxonomy has a very easy cognitive diagram for your thoughts on how you're going to design this and to what degree or level. I really want you to go back and take a look at some of your old syllabi from when you were in school. Take a look at maybe some of the syllabus that are at your current institution, and take a look at what level they are going in here. You can really take a look at it. Like I've gone to places, taken a look at the syllabus, and I'm looking at some of the learning outcomes for a senior level course, a 400 level, course for maybe an undergraduate program. Why are they still at the bottom, right? Remember or understand, depending on the level of the course, that's how high up on that ladder you need to go. Okay. For instance, if you are creating a graduate level course, so when I created a graduate level course, I typically didn't go below the analyze, the yellow there. I would maybe once or twice you see the word apply or anything similar to the word applying new information, but it was scarce. I tried my best to stay up towards the top because that's where I'm getting the critical thinking skills, right? Versus if I was writing an undergraduate level course and I was attempting to, and it's a freshman level class or a 100 level class, I'm probably doing more of the understanding and remembering in this process. Does this make sense to everyone? And does any of this ring a bell?
This is Megan. I use this every day, including at work for office hours or training, etc. I just wondered, and can I just ask a question, and maybe not only for you, Dr. Bush, but everybody else?
Absolutely.
I am old.
You're not old.
I am old and seasoned, but I find, I don't know if anybody is using the flipped learning model or the approaches. I find a lot of students, I teach master students and some doctoral students, that some of them are really way down here. They have no critical thinking skills. And so I've been flipping some of the work and doing a lot of hands-on, and not hands-on, but sort of practical things, instead of just sitting being didactic. I'm having them develop plans or assess documents and policies. And so they're leaving with more skills. And, some of them is like, oh my God, we should be doing this as a master's program. And I'm like, my daughter did this when she was in high school. So the fact that you are an MD and you can't even, analyze a policy document, to me is bothersome. So I don't know if it's a newer generation of professionals that we are bringing through the system, but I'm finding a lot of that. So just wanted to say that. Don't kill me, anybody else who might have a different idea, but just a thought.
No one's gonna, and 1 second, I'll stop sharing so that we could see faces. I also have seen a change in the, I don't want to say quality, the type of student that we are admitting into our institutions, and their degree to think critically about tasks, about just simple things. I again, like you, I teach both undergrad and graduate level courses, and I will say with my graduate levels, they're not they are thinking critically. I will say no, don't laugh at quality. I'm just saying. I am noticing that same thing. I'm having to work a lot harder with my 100 to 300 level, even sometimes my seniors. I'm working a lot harder to get them to actually think critically about some of the assignments and some of the work, and having to do more applications. Now, part of that is I think some of the courses that I took over were not written properly. They were not written to, get them to that level. I'm sorry, and Dr. Childs, you had a statement.
I'm thinking more so from since I'm sorry, I can't remember her name. Dr. Sanders was speaking about her daughter being in high school. I know, just having taught high school in the last 5 years, the emphasis on standardized tests, that's really a lot about memorization and making small connections about things. I think that really impacts when students get to the college level and they may or may not, as I've heard college professors say, for that level, because that's not the focus in K-12. The focus is on standardized tests, and those tests are very much so on rote memorization of facts.
Well, there we have it. There we have it. And the problem with that, because they haven't been able to apply it, or analyze or evaluate or create in that particular space, it does cause for a harder process for us to get them to that level. Obviously, of course, if we're working with undergrad students, our goal is to prepare them to think critically, and of course to be prepared when they get ready to go to that next level. See what's happening in the chat here. Oh, you got some amens there, Dr. Childs. Sorry, flashback. All right. So after we, of course, have applied, of course, our Bloom's taxonomy and the ADDIE model, let me go back. There we are. I wanted to kind of offer up, of course, in this this last time frame, if you've applied all of those, just some quick tips and time savers. And I think they were alluded to, of course, at the beginning. It can be very overwhelming if you are either brought on as a subject matter expert, or you've been kind of asked to kind of create something new. I would say start with your own research. So I wrote my dissertation had elements of DEI in there. And so one of the first courses that I wrote at my university was a diversity in organizations course, which had, of course, elements of diversity, equity, inclusion within it. So I was able to actually kind of recycle some of my research in order to leverage that in that space. That's less work that I have to do for this turnaround. I know different universities have a different amount of time that turnaround is before you can actually be compensated for your work. So kind of be within those guidelines, but that's a good way, of course, of getting a foundation course for yourself. I, again, will start with my competition. I would go out, take a look at what other universities are doing in that space. What textbooks are they using? Can we do something similar? How long do they spend on one topic? That is great. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. If you have a great idea, again, you just want to make sure that it is your own when it's the final product has been presented. Ask the publishers. These publishers are so willing to kind of throw text at us and throw full-fledged courses at us. I don't necessarily like getting the whole thing from the publisher, the whole PowerPoints, etc. That your course does lose its authenticity when you kind of do that. But they are a great starting point. They're a great addendum to a lot of courses. They may have lots of activities that are already pre-built for you, that you don't have to kind of do the additional legwork when it comes to that. But these are great addendums. Again, I am not a huge fan of a cookie cutter course. But they do have wonderful things. Cengage, McGraw-Hill, they have some really great tools out there to assist you in this course development process. And of course, they'll tack on that textbook along the way, if you will. But again, it's not my cup of tea. A lot of course, the larger ones would already even have their own kind of material printed out. Vital Source. I don't know if you don't know about Vital Source. It's a wonderful tool, especially, of course, if you have a .edu. And I think we have a comment there. Oh, thank you so much. Vital Source is awesome. And I think I'll add it to my my handout there for you. But Vital Source is amazing because as you are coming up on courses that you have to teach, you can get free copies of that via Vital Source. They just have to approve your .edu email address as an academic, and of course you'll have access to that. You can make requests for digital copies of books. I've used that to start off my search. So I designed a healthcare a health information technology course for a university. I went to Vital Source. I was like, I need to get some text out here. And I was able to go and look at a number of different texts and kind of scan and go through each one of those via Vital Source. So if you don't have access to that, that is going to be an awesome tool for you too. And Quality Matters. Quality Matters is a really awesome tool that it will assist you in the development of your course. It's like a rubric for our world here. What it will then do is kind of go through and assist you with like, hey, does your course have this? Do you have activities? Is it engaging here? Are there assessments included in there? Are you thinking about the different learning styles that are there? So Quality Matters is, of course, a really great tool, and that you'll find that also inside of your handout. I also want to touch on a couple of different things too before we depart or for conversation pieces. There are a couple of different steps, additional steps along the way for approvals. Review and approvals was another call out there. And in there's another set of approvals that you have to go through. Now, this part becomes political. And there's a saying that in business, you need to have the conversations in the hallway before you actually go into the boardroom for the actual meeting. So you of course have a proposal, but I think it's a good idea to talk to your colleagues about their thoughts and ideas and what they think about the program before you get heavily in the weeds, because there's politics involved in a lot of these institutions. So you have your proposal submission. You should also, of course, get the subject matter expert approval. Typically, you will be that SME. Sometimes universities will contract out this role. So that's a great additional income, a contract for anyone out there who's kind of coming in as a subject matter expert. Just because, and I'm going to use Professor Williams for an example there. She wrote a whole course on artificial intelligence. It doesn't necessarily mean that she has to be, I'm sure she has a background, but maybe it's not robust in AI and technology. I'm just picking on you, Dr. Williams. But maybe she has an industry professional that is. We can always bring that person in as a subject matter expert, and the university can kind of give them a contract to just take a look at what she created and add in the recommendations so that we can make that, we can, of course, attest to the rigor of the course and that it's in line with the with industry standards. Similar to I can't remember the professor that just made the announcement there, but she did social work. Maybe she's not an active social worker or a licensed social worker, but she has a background. Maybe she can, of course, go out, find a SME. You want to get that SME approval. That SME approval will help you out with the curriculum committee approval. You want to, of course, get your program chair approval. If you are the program chair, that's easy. But if you are not, then you, of course, want to get the buy-in of that program chair, because that signature is going to be great for you too. Your curriculum committee. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Does anyone on the call have any experience with a curriculum committee or have been on a curriculum committee themselves?
This is Joyce. I have. I've been on two different kinds. I've been on one for the federal government, and then I've been on one for a private organization that provides courses for underrepresented populations, and it's very, very different. The federal government one usually is somebody's job, so it's a little bit more of doing what they're supposed to do. The private company was didn't have a lot of experience and really was not into that consistency of if they were developing one course, what the next course was going to look like. It was almost like one and done for every course, so it made it very hard to try to have an agenda. And it was also that the people could take the courses out of order, which makes it even harder. So if I'm building a course thinking that this course is going to allow somebody to build upon something else, sometimes the ones that are not curriculum developers don't take that into consideration. It was like, well, I want to build this course on whatever, underwater basket weaving. Well, what about people need to know how to swim if they're going to be
Right. If
trying
they're
to
going to
build
build
this?
underwater baskets.
Exactly. So it kind of depends on the school as well as the organization, that curriculum development committee.
Indeed. Anyone else have a maybe university curriculum committee experience?
Yeah,
Yes, I,
oh, okay.
I'm
oh,
sorry.
oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Kelly.
Okay,
I was gonna confer. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so
No.
when I was at Southern University at New Orleans, we tried to get an educational, there was a program, educational studies, and there was no communication with any of the faculty members in the program. And it just so happens that we had two of our faculty members on the college, on the committee. And it was automatically denied, not because it wasn't a good program, because, the expectation of you running this by us in the department first was not adhered to. And so they just did not touch it. Our dean got chewed out for reasons not involved with the actual, you know, program that he was trying to implement. So he had to wait that out and wait until, they calmed down and passed it by them in the faculty meeting first. And then a couple of months later, he presented it and they approved it.
See, politics. And I think someone else had something to say. I'm sorry. Who did we cut off by mistake?
No, I was just gonna say that so I'm at the University of DC. It's my first year, and I knew like when I saw, thank you, 1 year out of dissertation. But when I saw like the math education curriculum, I knew I needed to revamp it like day one. And good thing like our chair at the time, who's now a dean, gave me like the green light to go. So I joined the curriculum committee as my university service, like on purpose, so I can learn about processes and how to do, everything, because I'm going to have to change 3 classes, minimum 3 classes.
And
on top of that.
how's your process there? Is it daunting? Does it look like it's a lot?
Oh, it's very daunting. And even the folks like on the curriculum committee don't seem to have like any type of documentation of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, this is what you do. So it's kind of like just throwing something to someone's email. Okay, well, send it to this person. Well, okay, and that it kind of doesn't work for my OCD. Like I need plan written down, so I'm hoping to create that with them for the future folks who come in.
Guys, similar to everyone else on the call and everyone else that shared their experience along the way, same here. I spent all this time doing the proposal, and I got everybody's, I got my SME. I was a SME myself, the program chair. I got my assistant dean. They approved it. And it's time to get to the curriculum committee. And we use a system called Curriculog for approvals of the committee. The committee does meet every 2 weeks. We have an undergraduate committee and a graduate committee. And it gets all the way there. I worked my tail off on this minor. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good. I'll just go and I'll defend it, and they'll just pass it right on through. After I defended it, I got the email back that it was rejected. And everybody approved but one person. And the way that ours goes, it needs to be all for one. And it turns out the one individual that denied mine just didn't like me because she didn't know me. Apparently I came in, I took a job that I didn't know that it was going to be her job, and she had a vendetta. And it wasn't until the graduation where I met her in person and we had a chance to speak and shake hands. And I even brought up the fact, oh, girl, you denied my proposal with no reason on top of that. Oh, I was just being bitter. But that's what I'm telling you. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes because the curriculum committee is not just made up of your subject. In some universities, it's a collaboration of other seasoned professionals. So while you may, of course, I have a focus in business and healthcare, but you also may have a professor of IT, information systems there, and a professor of English that's in there. So we're all kind of scattered across the university, and they're coming together. And Professor Ivy's idea of rigor and whatever this course is might be completely different than Professor Wilson's. So it does get political. It's a good idea, just in my opinion, to go out and find out who's on the committee. If not, as mentioned by our good newly minted doctor, going out there and get on the committee yourself so that you'll know the process, if they have a process, because similar to ours, we don't have anything written down. It's supposed to be known knowledge or cardinal knowledge about what we're supposed to do, and get those and get that information across. That way you can smooth that process out. Assessments committee. So we have an additional committee at our university that also approves the assessments. So it's not enough that you've gotten the program actually approved. Now they need to take a look and take a look at the rigor. Is it in alignment with the number of college credits there? You have 3 credit hours. Does the work in here equate to 3 credit hours? Does your SLO speak to 3 credit hours, right? And the workload in there. As I mentioned before, I've been to some places where they have 18 different student learning outcomes for this one course. Is that 3 credit hours or is that 18 credit hours here? Like, that's a lot, right? In order to get to that particular area. So think about that. Of course, your provost or whomever is over your vice president of academic affairs, that particular individual is probably one of the sign off on it. From there, that's when it goes to your catalog and the registrar's office so that your students can actually register for your course. So that in total is the actual process that it should go through typically for universities. This, of course, will vary depending on from place to place. So I do want to open up the floor now for the last 5 minutes of the time for questions or comments or insights. No surprise to me. Yes, it is very difficult. Wait, if they're only at a Black person, yeah, I'm the only one there, so I ain't gonna talk about that part. Any questions, insights? Yes, absolutely. Feel free, talk away.
Hi, y'all. Hey, everybody. My name is Zakia Ali. I'm at Howard. I do like the point that you pointed out, Dr. Bush, that there are differences and discrepancies in how we understand rigor. And I had put inside of the chat, the same is true when it comes down to what we consider critical. And some people might not understand what it means to be critical, or we might assume that we all have a working knowledge and a working understanding of what it means to be critical, just like some of us think that we have a full understanding of what it means to be rigorous. And you will look at a syllabus or you will look at a course and you will see all of this busy work that's being done at the college level. And because it's all of this work that's just inundating your time, people will associate that with being rigorous, but it isn't, because it's not making you think in any different type of way. It's also not bringing in new knowledge that the students can contribute to the classroom in any fundamental way. And it's almost in a way that the students don't have an opportunity to interrogate what's being done through this work, because it's all just being told that this is what you have to do and you got to complete these steps. So you got to respond inside of this particular discussion group and respond to 2 members in the classroom in this discussion group. And then people think, oh, that's rigor, or this is being critical because you responded to 2 class members. And I feel like that we're doing our students a disservice because we are pretending like it's really, this is what you do on a college level. But on the college level, to me, it's all about thinking. How do you think your way into this process and out of this process and into another conversation with somebody else in the classroom that raises challenging questions? So I just wanted to put that out there and say thank you for raising that.
Absolutely, and thank you there, Professor Ali. I completely agree. Additional thoughts, and anyone else come off of mute? And I think just kind of piggybacking of what you stated, and it does bother me additionally when you see when I see a syllabi that has 20 different learning outcomes on it, and 19 of the 20 say all understand. And that's that's all they're doing. They've never moved up that ladder. They're not at the top of the pyramid when it comes to thinking critically. They haven't applied it to anything. They haven't synthesized anything. Only thing we've asked them to do is, remember something for a 10 question quiz online that they're going to cheat on anyway. Good. Additional thoughts? Truly my pleasure. What advice would you give for obtaining an adjunct position? Oh, well, let's talk then. What advice that I would give? I would say don't be afraid to think outside the box. Local universities, go for your local universities. The career colleges that are out there, the technical colleges. I got started in the technical college space. So the ones with the commercials, they're always looking for adjunct roles, et cetera. So don't be afraid to take a look at them. If you go on LinkedIn, typically whoever the program director is, the program coordinator, or that university's associate dean for that particular program, they're probably more than likely on LinkedIn. After you apply, or if you see a role that's there, I would suggest going and then connecting with them on LinkedIn so that they can see you. I guarantee you 9 times out of 10, they have not seen your resume. You submitted it, but they haven't seen it because human resources sucks across the board. Oh, there ain't no doctors or human resources on here yet. No? Okay. Okay, so human resources sucks. So your resume more than likely never got to that individual. So I would, that's one avenue of approach. Don't be afraid to be a subject matter expert either. I think just because you don't have the title of a professor on there, coming in as a SME for something gets your name in rotation with the university. So coming in as a SME or coming in as a guest speaker also helps you out to kind of get your foot in the door. Thirdly, try some of these online schools. A lot of the online schools, of course, have positions out there. I will say, any one of my colleagues here worked at some of the online institutions?
This is Megan. I do. I wouldn't go to anybody's classroom now. I think it's for the birds, but that's me.
All right. I will let you know that some of the larger for-profit institutions, while they will hire you, you will some of them will have you do more just kind of monitoring of a class, but it's still a good start. It's a good way to get your foot in the door. Some of the work, the pay, I will say, for some of the adjuncts is not the best. So I'm gonna be honest. It's not the best. Come on, Howard, shaking her head. I'm here in Atlanta, so we have the AUC. It is a known fact that I probably would rather be at the institution I am than teach. I love my HBCU. Don't do that. But they don't pay down there at Clark. So but some of the work is kind of heavy. But those are the places that I would do. Don't be afraid again to go out, think outside the box when it comes to that, and email the hiring manager, or in this case, the program coordinator or whatever, to even see if you want to come in and speak to the class or become a speaker, because then that gets your name in rotation there, and it'll probably more than likely put you in the pool. Yes, ma'am.
I was just gonna say too, regarding the adjunct positions, and I like your advice about going to the local universities, but don't not go to the big universities too, because I started out when I was a high school teacher in Brooklyn as an adjunct at Teachers College at Columbia, with social studies master students. And then from there, I moved to NYU in Steinhardt, the School of Education, with early undergraduate students, but they were early childhood educators. And one of the things that I would say in regards to walking into a program where you have curriculum that's already created or syllabi that's already created, always take that as an opportunity to create your own syllabi or to add to it and make the syllabus that they may give you, make it more robust. to the point where they say, oh my gosh, we didn't even think about these types of things. So just adding your stamp of approval or revamping it completely once you understand exactly what it is what the outcome is that they want to have for the students.
Completely agree. Good. Yeah, don't be afraid to kind of think outside the box. There's tons of institutions out there. There's tons of for-profit institutions. And while I had a for-profit background, I had a technical college background when I came in. It did give me all the experience that I needed to be successful as a traditional college academic. So definitely kind of go into that space. You'll see that it's fast-paced, but it'll really hone your skills in teaching too. Additional questions? Anything? Well, nothing at all. Well, it has been a pleasure being with you all. Thank you so much for all your engagement and your participation. If you do need anything, I'm on LinkedIn. I have a website. I'm always doing things, of course, with BDN. I love, of course, Dr. Taylor and the entire network. So if you do have anything or any questions, I'm always at your disposal. Each one teach one. We have to kind of reach down and help each other out. We are very few in this space. I'm at there's not many of me at my university, and I'm sure, of course, if you look around, except for Howard up there, there's not many of us, of course, floating around. So I'm to see as many faces as with the title doctor in front of it just always makes me proud. So,
all right, thank you, Dr. Bush, for that engaging presentation. So, you guys, before you leave, if you can take a few minutes to complete the workshop evaluation link that's in the chat, and if you need it, I will provide it again, but please complete that before you leave. And Dr. Bush, somebody asked you for your LinkedIn link.
Sure. Give me 1 second. I can drop that in there. I think I'm the only, as Dr. Taylor said, I'm the only Dr. J.A. Bush. Don't forget my A. I like my A. There you go. I went ahead and I put that in the LinkedIn.
And I'll post the workshop evaluation link again for everybody.
Awesomeness. Any additional questions? Anything from anyone?
Do you have a copy, or is it okay if you provide us with a copy of one of the syllabi or syllabus from one of the courses you designed?
Sure. Yeah, I got plenty of them. Oh, y'all keep your copies. Y'all keep whatever you develop. Throw it in the drive. They get a copy, you get a copy.
Thank
and make
you.
sure they pay you too.
Do y'all know when we'll get this recording, or are we getting a copy of this recording?
If you registered for the workshop, and I'm sure you did because that's how you're here, yeah, Dr. Taylor or someone from her team will make sure that you have a copy of the recording.
Okay, thank you.
I also don't see the Dr. Bush's LinkedIn link in
That's right.
Did I make a mistake? Hold on 1 second. Everyone in this meeting, how about that? There we go.
Yeah, it was sent.
I think I might have did it with just a direct message. My apology. There we go. Anything at all?
And this is the last thing that I'm gonna say. Can you put that slide back up where you had your email up there, Dr. Bush? Because I missed it.
Sure.
You had
Thank
your Gmail.
you.
My pleasure. Here we go, Miss Zoom. Share.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
My email address is drjaybush@gmail.com. It is also the same thing on the Twitter and in Instagram.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
All right, if you guys thank you again, Dr. Bush. If you had an opportunity to complete the workshop evaluation link, then that'll conclude our presentation, our very engaging and informative presentation from Dr. James Bush. And I'll just hang here so I don't leave the meeting and you lose the link. But that is all. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.